some of the things a lot of people mentioned is like they were given tools. They may or may not have used them. They certainly weren't set up for like creating second unit tools. Or once they got into the classroom and they weren't fully Unit 1 ready yet, they just sort of like abandoned everything because they were overwhelmed and they were just like, oh, I'm just going to like manage day to day. So planning sort of like moved aside. People got placed late, and they didn't have the opportunity to actually develop the tools. And they ended up just giving some assessment that the school or district gave them. So I think there are a lot of reasons why core members might fall into one of these two sort of like technically okay, but not spiritually okay. You know what I mean. But let's think about like what are the implications, right, of core members falling into one of these two alternatives. Like what are the consequences, both like short-term in round zero with their students, but also long-term for their success over the whole year? Okay. Yeah, Sarah.
I actually had a meeting with
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, I'm Sarah from Phoenix. I had a meeting with a core member in Indeed a couple weeks ago, and this person definitely was not doing one already or progress known. And it's actually, for lack of a better word, the most fascinating, like how much her round zero experience has stuck with her. It's almost like she can't move past it, and she's technically off track now because of coverage. And it's like she's never figured out a way to fully like go back and make it up. And so partly I think she's using some excuses that like I didn't, get this early on, so therefore this year won't be paid for the shop, which to me has a lot of liabilities. But then two, even her relationship with her PD, even though it's actually gotten much better, like she didn't feel like she worked in partnership with her PD for the first 2 months, and that is absolutely defined her experiences here. And it's almost like she can't let it go. And there's still sort of this like working through that they need to happen. So yeah, it was really interesting. And so I mean, on the flip side, I think it's fueled a certain level of urgency for next year. And yet, I think she herself is like, I've spent 9 months and I'm not happy with like what I have to sort of show for it.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, like the implications both for her students who probably have not learned all the things that they need to learn this year. But also her experience, right? Like it sounds like she's kind of unhappy, maybe urgent about next year, but has had a challenging experience. And it's so interesting, like getting off on the wrong foot with the PD has just like set the tone for the whole year. So it just adds sort of a level of importance to how are we setting those up right from the beginning. Other consequences, implications of core members being in these two buckets rather than the Kyle optimal outcome. Leah.
Well, I'm thinking about that first bucket, and I'm thinking that like if you go right to assessment but lack the foundations, lack the ability to backwards plan from that assessment, I think the longer term takeaway that you could have is like maybe the achievement gap can't be closed, and maybe I don't have control over what happens or doesn't happen in my classroom. I think it could really promote like a lack of agency for members and like what actually can close the achievement gap.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And even within round zero and sort of like the first unit, I mean, it's likely if this stuff didn't take place, students really haven't learned very much, I would imagine, in that first unit. And then that's just going to also set a tone with the students in the classroom. It's like, I don't know, this teacher didn't really teach me anything this like first month. What's going on here? And then the teacher is discombobulated. So like it all sort of like adds up. Yeah. Other consequences, implications for Sam.
I would say just one big implication for first year, and we saw this play out with our second years, is if you're at first year and you don't learn these lessons this first year, your second year is going to be that much harder for your PD starting off, because either they may be assuming that you already learn those lessons for some reason if they're a different PD, or it's just that you're a second year core member, so you're automatically assuming that you're starting off somewhere different, where you actually maybe start off at the same trajectory as a first year core member. So you have to go through the process of really learning these lessons at the beginning of your second year.
Yeah, so the potential benefit, potential payoff of being a veteran teacher is sort of under-realized because people didn't really learn the right lessons in their first year. Yeah, that's a great point. One final one. Yeah, Anna.
Yeah, I'm Anne from New York. I actually think not getting it right can really affect retention in a lot of ways too, because having a goal, and so this is for either one of them, being able to backwards plan for something that you believe in represents you closing the achievement gap and having a purpose in your classroom. And it's really hard to go into schools every day and deal with everything that comes up. And if you don't keep your mind on your purpose and on the mission, then it's really easy to like throw up your hands and walk away. And so if we don't get it right, we're going to see that a lot more often, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. One thing we didn't mention because it was so obvious was that Kyle was retained and he's still teaching. But I mean, I think that's such a good point because it does relate to all of our goal areas, right? It's not just effectiveness, but it is retention and satisfaction and sort of what their long-term potential relationship with Teach for America is. So I want us to keep in mind Kyle, right, and the optimal outcome for round 0, and really think about like what is possible, because this happened. Like this was not, we didn't make this up. This was an actual core member talking about their experience, and it was powerful. Like it's pretty impressive, like where he came out at the end of round 0, and that is possible for us to achieve with our core members if we are able to account for some of these pitfalls that we're likely to encounter. But I really want us to keep in mind like what is possible, what can we achieve with our core members so that we meet both the technical and the sort of spirit of the bar that we're setting. So that's outcomes, and now we're going to sort of talk about where are our core members starting from, like where are they coming from out of Institute, and Felicia is going to take us through that session.